Good morning. Our minister, the Reverend Katie McCage Lucas, is on summer break. My name is Alok Kalia. I am a Hindu, but for the last 28 years, I've also been an enthusiastic member of this Unitarian Universalist congregation. For visitors, Unitarian Universalism is a covenantal religion, which means that we are united not by a creed, not by a shared belief, but by our covenant, which is a joint affirmation to live and act in a certain way. We gather here every Sunday and on many occasions during the week to worship, to talk, to think, and to grow. So, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and a special welcome to our visitors and newcomers. I'm glad you could join us today.
Good morning. My name is Steve Jordan. I'm the worship associate this morning. I'd like to invite Ivar Larson up to help light the chalice. As we light the chalice and fully embrace the sacred space created here this morning, please hold in your hearts the Unitarian Universalist principle, which calls upon us to respect the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. Our daily actions, choices, and struggles ripple outward, shaping the human network we inhabit. May this flame remind us of our profound reliance on one another. And now, if you'd please join me in our opening song, number 361 in your hymnal, Enter Rejoice and Come In. Feel free to use your hymnal or follow the words that will be on the screen. Please rise as you are willing and able. I'd like to invite Liz up here to help with the Spanish reading this morning. Our covenant is a shared promise outlining how we intend to relate to one another. Consider the foundation of this building. While unseen, it bears the weight of the entire structure, and it keeps it intact from outside forces. Our covenant functions similarly. We recite it together because our interdependent human web requires continuous maintenance. By reaffirming these commitments, we actively strengthen this community that sustains us. So please join me in our shared covenant. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Good morning. El amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia. La búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Vivir en paz, en comunidad, buscar el conocimiento en libertad, servir a la humanidad en fraternidad. Así es como pactamos entre nosotros.
Thank you, Liz. We now enter our time of Candles of Community, an opportunity to bring the full weight of our lived experiences into this place of sanctuary. We light the red candle of community this morning to remind us that we are woven into an interdependent web, forever linked to one another. Our thoughts especially go out today to all our friends and neighbors in the hill country enduring the devastating floods. We hold them securely in this circle of care. We light the white candle of peace to commit ourselves to the outward work of building a more just world. We light it to bear witness to the armed conflict and atrocities unfolding across the Middle East and Ukraine, as well as the systemic injustices closer to home, where the use of deadly force and intimidation by immigration enforcement has become normalized. Holding both the grief of our world and the realities of our own lives, we invite you to come forward and light candles for your joys and sorrows, hopes and dreams, or worries and concerns, acknowledging that whatever you carry, you do not carry it alone. As the music plays, you're welcome to come forward. If you would rather have a candle brought to you, please raise your hand and we'll bring you one.
For our meditation today, I'm going to use the prayer of St. Francis. Many of you have heard that before. St. Francis lived about 800 years ago. It is unlikely that he wrote this prayer. Its first recorded instance is in France in 1915, and the author is not known. Nevertheless, I find the prayer beautiful, and so we'll use it. You can keep your eyes open or closed as you wish. And the prayer goes, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. Grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying to the ego that we attain eternal life. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Gloria Miller, and I am the Director of Religious Education here at Bay Area Unitarian Universalist Church. Our tale, or Time for All Ages today, is entitled Hide and Seek with God. Once upon a time, God said, I'm bored because I don't have anything to do. I want to play with my friends. And because God is God, as soon as those words were spoken, God's friends were there. And when God saw them all gathered, he said, I've been bored because I haven't had anything to do. Let's play something. Good idea, said God's friends. What shall we play? God thought for a moment and then said, I know. Let's play hide and seek. The friends all said, yes. They knew that hide and seek with God was always exciting and different because God was the one who hid, and God always thought of wonderful places to hide. God's friends closed their eyes tight and counted to 10. And when they opened their eyes, God wasn't there anymore. So they all went off to look for God. One friend decided to look close on the earth and soon came to a meadow. And as he was searching, he stopped to admire the tender new sprouts of green grass pushing their way up to the sun. And as he bent to look more closely at that tender green, he realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about it. So he jumped up and he ran back to home base calling out, I found God. God is green and growing. I found God in the grass. Another one of God's friends decided to look for God in the night. She watched the sun go down and heard the workaday noises stop. She saw the lights in the houses go out, and as it got darker and the peaceful night wrapped itself around her, something special and amazing and wonderful happened. And when it was so still that she could see and hear nothing at all, she suddenly jumped up and ran to home base, calling out, I found God. God is dark and peaceful. I found God in the night. A third friend looked on the earth and felt the mystery of the grass growing under the sun. He stayed and watched the night come, and he felt the mystery of the darkness and the stars. He thought to himself, these mysteries are special and amazing and wonderful. But when he finally came back to home base, he said, I found wonderful mysteries, but I'm not sure if I want to call them God. A fourth friend decided to look for God where people were, and he joined a group of people going home from work and went with them into the store where they bought food. Then he went with them back out on the street as they started for their homes, and was with them when someone came up and said, please, I'm very hungry. Could you just share a little food with me? The people readily agreed, and as he watched them share, he realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful about it. He turned around, he ran home to home base, calling out, I found God. God is love and sharing. I found God in people who care for others. And then finally, two more of God's friends, a boy and a girl, decided to look for God together. And after a time, they came to a house and decided to look for God in the house. They saw a room and they looked for God in the room. And in the room, they saw a mirror and they looked for God in the mirror. And as they looked into the mirror, they realized there was something special and amazing and wonderful being reflected in it. They turned around, ran home to home base, calling out, we found God. We found God in us. At this, God appeared again and said, I had so much fun. Weren't those good things, good hiding places? Some of you found me, others weren't sure, and others are still looking. And that's okay, because the most important thing is to just play the game. Let's do it again. I'm sure I can think of some other good hiding places. And they all called out, "Ollie, ollie, ollie, oxen, free, free, free." And the game started all over again. Our keeper of the flame today is Violet Swick, my granddaughter.
For our first, can you all hear me? For our first reading today, I'm going to use an ad that was placed in the Galveston Daily News on Sunday, November 11, 1951, by the H.A. Orrell family of Galveston. This ad led to the birth of the Galveston Unitarian Fellowship, and many of you are very familiar with that fellowship. The ad said, in part, Unitarianism is a way of life, a life of vigorous thought, constructive activity, and of generous service, not a religion of inherited creeds, dead heroes, and saints or holy books. Unitarianism is not an easy religion. It demands that people think out their beliefs for themselves and then live up to those beliefs. The stress is placed upon living this life nobly and effectively rather than on preparation for an afterlife existence. Thank you, Jenny. That was beautiful. For our second reading today, I want to go over our principles. In 1961, two relatively small religions, Unitarianism and Universalism, merged to form the religion that we call Unitarian Universalism. The two had much in common. Each arose as an unorthodox creed within Christianity and then found its own path. Each had a strong tradition of social justice and ethical reform. Each shared a commitment to reason and conscience, to living a life based not on a creed, but on a shared belief, on shared values. These values were codified in a list of statements that we call our principles. And there are 7. If you look up at that stained glass window up there, you will see 7 circles. They stand for our 7 principles. And this is how they go. We covenant to affirm and promote. That mic is not working, so I'm going to have to. They covenant to affirm, or we covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, and finally, respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. And I've highlighted the last one for a reason that will become apparent in the next few minutes. Two years ago, our denomination decided to restate our principles in the form of this diagram, which should also be on the back of your order of service. Yes, it is. With love at the center to remind us to make love the bedrock of our values and actions. All right. For today's sermon, I decided to take a walk down memory lane at my 2 attempts to answer an existentialist question about our religion. The question is this: we are a religion that has no creed, no single shared unifying belief. So what makes us gather here every Sunday? What keeps us together? So today I have taken excerpts from 2 previous sermons, in each of which I tackle this question. The first was in 2001, 25 years ago, when I was a relatively new UU. And I had the audacity and the chutzpah to take up the question. And I proposed an answer. The second was almost 2 decades later in 2019, and this time I came up with a very different answer. So this is what I said in 2001, and some of you have heard bits and pieces of the first few minutes of this talk before, but not everyone, so please bear with me. I said in that talk, the year was 1996. My younger sister had just passed away after a long and painful illness. Her untimely demise had hit me hard. I was depressed and confused, trying to find some meaning for a life to be cut so short. In my depression, I had also shrunk into myself. I had made myself lonely, and that does not help. I was a physician and a researcher. Up to that point in my life, my forays into the unknown had been guided by science and rationality. But science and rationality were not helping here. In desperation, and for the first time in my life, I turned to religion, the religion of my birth, Hinduism. Hinduism began to fill the empty spiritual space within me, a space that I had not previously suspected to exist. Hinduism comforted me and helped me ease my loneliness. It also helped me or inspired me to start a meditation practice. Well, a year later, I was attending a meditation retreat that perchance was held at a Unitarian Universalist church in the Woodlands. I was still searching, I was still a novice on my spiritual journey, and was curious about this strange sounding religion. So I came for a service to a nearby church, this church. From that first day, I knew I belonged here, and I know that at least some of you have had that feeling. I was home. The congregation gathered me up. The members became my community. The community I had been looking for and longing for. In my darkness, they gave me support. Even more, they encouraged me, a Hindu, to continue my journey, to keep looking for answers. Well, I did. But now I had a second religion, Unitarian Universalism, to add to my explorations. I learned that in the late 1700s, each of the two religions had arisen as an unorthodox creed within mainline Christianity. A religious creed is a belief that is a public declaration of faith and a qualification for belonging. In many mainline Protestant churches, the Apostles' Creed is often recited. And it begins with declaration of belief in the Trinity, God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Unitarians who call their religion Unitarian Christianity maintain that God was one, not three, hence Unitarian, not Trinitarian. Universalists, also Christian, believed in universal salvation, that God loves us all and will save us all without condemning a single soul to hell. Technically, Unitarianism and Universalism were also creeds. But over the next 200 years, each of the two religions had moved far from their origins in Christianity and far from any creed or any test of belief. Everyone was welcome. But there was a problem. In that parlor, in that foyer, newcomers would ask, "So what are you about? What do you believe?" And these questions were much more common 25 years ago than they are today. I myself asked that question. And I could not come up with a crisp, clear, one-line answer. I wished we had a creed. So I discussed this in a talk that I gave 25 years ago. My gist was that a creed does not have to be an untestable belief about the divine. It could also be a factual statement based on observations of the real world. I said, and I quote, "I have come to the conclusion that a complete religion, any complete religion, is like a popsicle. There is a sturdy stick of belief in the center, and surrounding this stick is the sugar water of worship services, rituals, sacraments, festivals, and especially community. Sugar water is sweet, and it can be very satisfying. Sugar water is good to have when you skin your knee and go crying to your mother. But in every life, there comes a time when the roof caves in. And in such times, sugar water is not enough. One needs a stick of belief to hold on to. And this brings me," I said, "to that wonderful and paradoxical religion called Unitarian Universalism, a religion that seems to be deliberately designed to be a hollow popsicle. A religion that is not complete until each one of us carves her or his own stick of belief and inserts it into the sugar water. Some who walk through those doors for the first time are able to get a stick, pick up a pocket knife, and begin carving. But others are not. A person might be hurting too much, might be confused, might just not have the wherewithal to do that. How can we help him? Should we let them walk away empty-handed, as sometimes happens? Or should we try and carve a generic belief stick that can be left in a box out there for anyone who needs a little help till they can get going for themselves? Not a fully formed stick, mind you. UUs will never do that. Just something that has been fashioned roughly to a shape that most of us can agree on. Just the nucleus of a belief. I was in dangerous territory here. And you know what? When I look at our principles, I see at least one that might just rise to the level of a core belief, a verifiable belief. Where do core beliefs of a religion come from? They come from its cosmology, its understanding of the universe and our place in it. Where did I come from? Why am I here? What will happen to me after I die? If you can answer these three questions in a convincing manner, you can start your own religion. See that? And I went on, I submit that the nucleus of the UU cosmology is contained in that seventh principle that I highlighted. Respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. Now I am sure that every person in this room understands the web and our connection to it in many ways and at many levels. But as a physician, I perhaps have a slightly more nuanced perspective. What I want to try and do today is to make this connection as real to you as it is to me. Would each of you please take a deep breath? Come on, in. And let it out. From that breath, you extracted approximately 20 to 30 ml of oxygen. about the volume of a large strawberry. That oxygen is already in your bloodstream. As I speak, it is seeping across the walls of your capillaries. Can you feel it? And is now being incorporated in chemical reactions in every cell in your body. Those oxygen atoms that were floating in front of your nose 10 seconds ago are now already a part of you. You are not quite the same person you were before you took that breath. The web has changed you and replenished you. Let's take another example. There's some math involved, but I've done the calculation, so you can trust me. Each of us, every adult human being, is about 2/3 water. So a person who weighs 150 pounds has about 100 pounds or 100 pints, same thing, of water in their body. Every day, each of us, every day this person loses about 5 pints of water in the urine, across the skin, and in the air that we breathe out, and drinks the same amount, 5 pounds, to replace that loss. If we ignore any mixing that happens in the body, and that is a huge approximation because there will be mixing, but go with me, I'm trying to make a point here, okay? If we ignore any mixing that happens in the body, then at the rate of 5 pints a day, it will take just 20 days to change out that 100 pints of water in the body. Let me repeat. Every 3 weeks, all the water in the body will be gone and replaced by water from the world around us. So let us assume, I'm keeping it simple, let us assume there are 100 people in the sanctuary right now. Each weighs exactly 150 pounds. That is 15,000 pounds of Unitarian Universalists. Okay. If every single one of you comes back for the service just 3 weeks from now, only 5,000 pounds of you that are here today will be coming back. Right? The other 10,000 pounds will be new you, made of water from the well. I could go on. All the muscle in my body turns over every few months, and the atoms that make my bone and my brain may take a little longer. The truth is that even though I perceive myself as separate and distinct from the world around me, that separateness is only an illusion. A river of the universe flows through me. A river that is constantly dissolving and replenishing my body. Have you ever seen those little whirlpools that form behind rocks in a fast-flowing stream? Each whirlpool has a distinct shape. It seems to have boundaries that define it, that separate it from the rest of the river. But is it really separate? Can you pick a pretty little whirlpool out of the river and put it on your mantelpiece? Of course not. That whirlpool is a part of the river, made by the river and from the river. It has no existence separate from the river. So are we, whirlpools in the river of the universe, constantly changing, dissolving, and reforming. The web not only replenishes us, it also connects us in ways that we don't always comprehend. To borrow an example from Alan Watts, a favorite writer of mine, think about the bee and the flower. The flower cannot survive without the bee. And the bee cannot survive without the flower. Take one away and the other will surely die. So are the bee and the flower two different organisms, or are they two parts of a single organism, the bee flower? The entire web is like that, a complex and dynamic system, the strands of which are knotted together, plants and animals, microbes and manatees, all living on this earth, each giving life to the other. So what do I conclude by observing the web in action? I am forced to conclude that the boundary imposed by my skin is an illusion. I do not stop where my skin stops, and neither do you. We are connected to the web and to each other by the air that we breathe and the water that we drink and the food that we eat. We are also connected to each other in a million other different ways, and the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees are all links in that connection. I believe that each one of us comes out of this earth as leaves emerge from a tree in the forest. Each leaf lives its appointed time and then flutters to the forest floor, goes back into the earth, is taken up by the roots of the next tree to be born again, perhaps as a leaf, perhaps as a flower, perhaps as a twig. And if I believe this, then I must believe that protecting and nurturing the web should be our highest shared goal, a suggested creed. And I think I made a good case. So that was back in 2001. That our seventh principle can be a roughly hewn generic stick of belief. Now we come to 2019, 20 years later. 2 decades. My understanding of our religion had matured a bit. I had had the time to mull over and better understand some of the other thoughts contained in our principles. And let me show you those again. The inherent worth and dignity of every person. Justice, equity, compassion, acceptance, responsibility, truth, and so on. So that year, in 2019, I gave a talk called the UU Mind. In that talk, among many other things, I harked back to my popsicle analogy. And this is what I said. I said, well, that was when I was a new UU. I am now a much older UU, dented and scratched, but perhaps a little wiser. I now understand that our religion, our popsicle, is held together not by an internal stick of belief, but by an external surrounding net of values. What are values? Our values are our core principles. My values are my conclusions about how I should live and act in this world. My values reflect what I consider right and wrong in behaviors and relationships. My values determine whose deeds and words I respect, how I interact with those around me, the causes to which I contribute my time and money. My values determine who I vote for. As Unitarian Universalists, we don't mandate a common creed a common religious belief, because non-identical beliefs, religious or otherwise, can lead to similar values. Look around you. We have theists and atheists sitting in this sanctuary, I know that. Agnostics and humanists, pagans, Buddhists, at least one Hindu, and many other beliefs that I have not mentioned. We have the young and the old. We have women and men with diverse life experiences who have reached this sanctuary by many different paths. What we have in common are our principles, our values, the values that hold us together. Our principles, along with the covenant that we recite at the beginning of every service, list those values, such as worth and equality of every individual, freedom of thought, and the freedom to express those thoughts, and stewardship, responsibility for this earth and all it contains. Each of us probably has a somewhat different interpretation of each of those sentences, of each of those axioms, but they are not distinctly separate interpretations. They overlap, and this overlap connects each of us to the other. From another perspective, we may not all wrestle with our questions in the same way, but we seem to wrestle with the same questions, the same issues. And as I said, there are really only three: equity, freedom, responsibility. Actually, I don't even think we need 3 words to summarize what moves us the most. Think about it. As a UU, at the deepest level, what one social issue upsets us the most? For me, at least, the answer is injustice. Injustice. Yes, our core value can be summarized in one word, and that word is justice. We are primarily about justice. Justice towards each other, of course, but also justice towards the earth that we live on, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, justice towards the forests and the prairies and the oceans, and justice towards all the creatures that live in them. To paraphrase Theodore Parker, one of our groundbreaking ministers, who in 1853 said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one, and my eye cannot see that far. But I am sure that the arc of the universe bends towards justice." The arc of the universe bends towards justice. But the arc of the universe does not exist in a vacuum. Justice does not happen by itself. Justice must be nurtured, it must be defended, and on occasion, it has to be sacrificed for. And that is why we gather. We gather because we know that for justice to prevail, values must be turned into action. In India, there is a saying that for every mighty swing of the blacksmith's hammer, the goldsmith taps 1,000 times, but each makes an object of value. And so we gather to act, for each of us to pick up our own little hammer and tap, tap, tap. For each of us to do our little bit to help bend the arc of the universe towards justice. Thank you. me find my notes. The offering. The following words are adapted from Reverend Victoria Weinstein. She wrote, "We all make our yearly pledge to support the work of this church. Those pledges are critical, but they are individual and they are invisible. We also pass the plate every Sunday as a visible expression of community, of our ties to this church and to each other. The offering will now be gratefully collected. If you are a visitor, your presence is offering enough."
Thank you for your gifts. Please join me in saying, "This gift from the abundance of my life blesses me, our ministries, and the world." And now for some announcements. The mission here at Bay Area Universalist Church is to change lives and heal our world. There are many ways to get involved in this beloved community. As always, you'll find more information in Tuesday's email, the order of service insert, and our newsletter. Today at BAUUC, before you head home, we invite you to spend a little more time in community. Join us for coffee and fellowship immediately after the service in Cockrell Hall, which is, go down here, you can't miss it. Then at 12:30, you're invited to join us for lunch at Denny's. If you're looking for a quieter way to the end of the day, our Buddhist meditation group meets at 4 in the sanctuary. The care team is looking for volunteers to provide rides to and from church on Sundays. Each week, several members would love to attend worship but are no longer able to drive. If you're willing to give someone a ride, it would make a meaningful difference. If you'd like to volunteer or learn more, please contact Lynn Young at careteamlead@bauuc.org. Take a break in the middle of the week and join us Wednesday evening for Vespers at 6:30, right here in the sanctuary. Then at 7, head to Cockrell Hall for team trivia. Enjoy a fun evening of friendly competition. They tell me it's friendly. I don't know. Laughter, snacks, and maybe even a prize. And join Alok and Raj Kalia for our July end of the month party on Saturday, July 25th from 7 to 10 p.m. We'll gather indoors and outdoors, weather permitting, for an evening of great conversation, good food, and community. Please bring your favorite beverage and snack to share. This is an adults-only event. If you need the address, check the BAUUC directory or email hospitality@bauuc.org. A sign-up sheet is now available for our community garden potluck on Saturday, August 22nd. Join us for great food, fellowship, and gardening inspiration from Master Gardener Nemo Jackson. Just scan the QR code. Yeah, there's a QR code on the screen, or use the link in Tuesday's email to RSVP. We hope you'll join us. There are always more opportunities to connect at BAUUC than we can fit into the announcements. To stay connected by email, sign up on our website or in the guest book just outside the sanctuary. And please join us after the service for coffee and fellowship in Cockrell Hall, as I said, down at the end of the building. And if you'd like to continue the conversation, we'll see you at Denny's at 12:30. Now, please stand as you are willing and able for the closing hymn, number 118, This Little Light of Mine.
Benediction, I have chosen a piece written by Theodore Parker, the same minister I quoted earlier. And he wrote, "Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love, and its profession of faith divine living. Go in peace and blessed be."